From Southern California, this is The Circle of Insight, a show about everything in psychology. Hear the latest in news and views on psychology. Our motto is simple: wherever there is psychology involved, we are there. And now, here's your host of The Circle of Insight, Carlos Vasquez.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have a fabulous show for you. Today, we're going to be explaining healthy relationships. What are they? What do they look like? How can you get one? Today we have Dr. Cohen. She is a relationship and dating consultant. Welcome to the Circle, Dr. Cohen.
Thanks so much.
So, there's a question everybody wants to know. What does a healthy relationship look like? And I know it's kind of a big question. So I want to maybe break it into some parts for you. How does a healthy relationship look like in the initial stages? And then maybe later on as they get deeper into the relationship, maybe a year or two, and maybe even marriage.
Yeah. Well, I think a really important thing is life is too long to not have chemistry. And so you have to have the chemistry, but the chemistry really can't be off the charts, because if it's off the charts, it's probably touching a wound within you, something from your childhood that is unhealthy. So it's got to be a healthy amount of chemistry. And then you have to have compatibility so that you like each other and that your lifestyles really blend. I don't know how you have a good relationship if your lifestyles don't really mesh together well, or you like doing the same things on a day-to-day basis and you get along in that regard. And then finally, communication is so key. Healthy communication is really, really important. And really, that's one of the things I help people with, is making sure that their talk communication is good. And touch communication as well is really important, that their sexual communication is really up to par. And so a big part of talking is being able to structure their communication. A lot of people want to have their communication be really free form and spontaneous, but spontaneous really lends itself to chaos. And self-discipline allows for spontaneity.
So what would be like a bad example of a spontaneous conversation going wrong?
So when people just kind of react, when someone says something and then they just they get this feeling in their gut and then they just react to what the other person said, instead of having sort of, like, for instance, you do something and I spontaneously respond to it with, USOB, you do this all the time, blah, 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 and it goes on from there, rather than you do something and I go into my, structured way of talking to you, which would be, that's really painful for me. What would feel better is, and then to talk to you that way, which is a more structured way of communicating, which is rational. And I'm still getting my point across to you, but it's a much healthier and rational, less emotional way of communicating. And that's what I help people do, because it's still getting the point across of what you want to say, but it's for the woman, a feelings-based place, which a man can deal with a woman's feelings if she's in control of them. But a man can't deal with a woman's feelings if she's out of control.
Interesting. That's a great point. I've never heard that before. That's excellent. It also sounds like maybe the people are jumping to conclusions. I know a lot of times we're self-defensive, and I don't know if it's because of evolutionary principles or not. We protect ourselves a lot more.
Yeah.
So we hear a comment, we emotionally react in defense. Is that
absolutely?
Yeah.
It's that lizard brain just kind of reacting. And what happens is, when we're under stress, we can only hear short amounts of speech, and we can only speak short amounts of speech. So if we have the structure of, little scripts, which is what I help people with, then we can go to that if we have these scripts to work with. But if we don't have them, all we're going to do is we're just going to react from our gut, feel, react, think later, oh God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did I eat that? Why did I drink that? Why did I sleep with that? Versus feel, take it up to the head, think about what I want to do, say, and then do that.
Interesting stuff. You want to go back a little bit to what we originally talked about. You mentioned chemistry. Is it possible to elaborate a little bit more? What does chemistry look like?
Yeah. Well, chemistry it's God-given. It's that feeling, you feel it like when you're within just a few inches or feet of someone, and it's that feeling of ooh, you just know it when you feel it. And for a man, he sees it with his eyes. He sees if he's attracted to someone. With a woman, it's something that she gets, that she hears it over time. She might not hear it the first time, but she's going to hear it, like he said, oh, he has a job. Oh, he owns a house. His mother lives out of town. Things that are going to turn her on and make her feel more chemically attracted to him as time goes on. So she might not necessarily know that she's chemically attracted to him right off the bat. Women these days expect that they're going to feel it immediately, but it isn't necessarily so. A woman's chemical attraction to a man may build over time.
So chemistry is one factor we mentioned. Good communication is two factors. On chemistry, how important is being attracted to the partner you're dating, we'll say, for this one?
Yeah, well, like I said, for a woman, the chemical attraction she can find a man more physically attracted if she hears the things she wants to hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now, do you think men find more instances of chemistry than women do?
More
heard that,
like the physical attraction.
Yes.
Like
She likes me.
Yeah.
She likes me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's because it's all by looks. It's they become physically attracted, and that's where their chemistry lies.
Since they have an opportunity to see much more people than a woman can, hearing individual men, they think a lot more women are attracted to them.
They're attracted to a lot more women. Whether or not they evaluate that women are attracted to them, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, actually, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. I think how can we pick up signals that the other person is attracted to us or wants to maybe further a communication? But
right.
We'll check all that.
Do you want to
We'll
that
talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Before that, I do want to get this famous, I don't know what you would call it, legend or a theory that's always been out there, opposites. Is it good to be an opposite or not in regards to your personality or likes?
Right. Well, in regards to, I would talk more about energy, as far as this masculine and feminine energy, that's really important to have sort of the opposite energy. So we kind of addressed in the last segment that masculine energy gives, protects, cherishes, and competes, conquers, and controls. That's masculine energy. And feminine energy is passive, patient, and vulnerable, and is receptive, available, and is respectful of the man who cherishes her feelings or provides her pleasure. And so having those opposite energies is really critical to having a good relationship. There's only so much, if you imagine like an orb of energy, there's only so much masculine energy a relationship can handle, and there's only so much feminine energy a relationship can handle. So if you have two people who have both masculine energy, there's going to be a lot of competition within that relationship. If you have too much feminine energy from each person, there's going to be a lot of passivity and maybe too much emotionality within that relationship. So it's really helpful to have, one person who's designated the masculine energy and one person who's designated the feminine energy.
Let's explore some other commonalities and see if you found any relevance or importance to these. Same religions, does it matter?
You know what? It's one of those things I would say in general. It's helpful if it's important to both people. It's really helpful to have that common ground of spirituality. But certainly, I know people have definitely worked it out within relationships to have that difference. You can always look at, again, I definitely know some people who've worked it out within their relationship, but I think it's definitely, you try and take away as many differences as possible because there's so many places for problems to arise already, that if you can strip away as many differences as possible when it comes to big issues like that, if you can, then I say, go for as many similarities as possible.
What about education? Is that another significant one?
You know what? I don't think as much. I don't think that's as much of an issue. I think it depends on the people. It depends on the people in the relationship. I think for some people it may be something that's more it's more of a issue for the individual, but for some I don't think it is.
Hi, welcome to Adelante. This is Adelante Recovery, and my name is Yvette Kuglin, and I'm part of the staff.
Adelante Recovery Center has helped people in dual diagnosis for 5 years. We accept most PPO insurances and provide luxury accommodations and 24-hour support. To speak with an admissions counselor, call 1-888-242-4450.
A lot of time we don't even know what's wrong with us, and sometimes we need to get away to figure that out. So if you want to go for a little retreat out in Corona Del Mar, which is a confidential location, we're here to help. So we're only a phone call away. Thank you.
Now we'll go back to that question. How do we know if someone is interested in us? Like I said, guys think everybody is.
Right. So I think for men, what they need to be looking for is if a woman is looking at them. If a woman's not looking at you, if a woman's looking at you, she's signaling interest, especially if she's holding your eyes. If she's holding your attention and she's smiling at you, then she's trying to get your attention.
The length of time of that hold is going to be important. Then.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, don't go out there and we'll start looking at your stopwatches.
However, if she looks and she looks away, it's not you're not as sure. But women also have a hard time. You feel kind of like a little bit slutty if you kind of look at a guy and hold his attention too long. But still, that may be an indication that she's interested. Women have a hard time. Although my encouragement to women is if you're interested in a guy is to look at him and hold his gaze for a number of seconds. 4, 5, 6 seconds, whatever you can do. However, a lot of women that I work with say they have a difficult time doing that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And this is totally completely my own selfish interest here. I love Clint Eastwood. I've watched some of his movies, and there was one scene in the movie from his movie In Line of Fire. I'm not sure if you ever saw that, where he was a Secret Service agent. He was with Rene Russo. He was trying to court her throughout the movie. At the end, she's walking away. They had this conversation. They were getting intimate, but they hadn't dated yet. They were just having a conversation. She walks away, and he says to himself quietly under his breath, "If she turns around and looks at me, I got her." So, she eventually, in 20 seconds, she turns around, smiles, and looks at him, and, I got her, he says.
I love it.
So, is that really anything there? Is that something important? Is it something women do when they walk away? Do they look back kind of to see if the guy's there? Or?
To see if he's looking?
Yeah. Is there anything that you come across?
I think there's really something about women looking at men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does a woman know when the guy's interested? Because I've heard this a lot from women in the past. I just don't know if he likes me.
Well,
She has no idea.
I think women have to recognize that men go after what they want. If he's not coming after you, he doesn't want you.
That's easy enough.
I think it's pretty simple, and I think women drive themselves crazy going, I wonder if he likes me. I wonder if he likes me. Does he like me? Does he like me? The question is he following up? Is he texting you? Is he calling you? It's as simple as that. And we make it more difficult. We make it so much more difficult. It's just, is he following up?
And these conventional rules, we don't know where they came from. They just seem to pop up. Don't call her after the first day within 24 hours.
I think they're ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. Okay.
I think men should follow up as soon as they want to. If a man wants to call the next morning and tell her that you had a great time. Because if you're not calling her, then some other guy is, and you're being shut out. So I absolutely follow up as soon as possible.
And for a woman, should she call the guy?
No.
So go ahead and elaborate on that.
No, I'm a big fan of men doing the leading, doing the chasing. I think that when women start calling or texting, what they're doing is getting in the way of the man's primordial instinct to do the chase and getting in the way of his hunting instinct. And so I just think that women need to kind of sit back and let him do his thing. Because again, if he's not calling, if he's not doing the chasing, then he's not interested enough.
Interesting. We've had matchmakers on here before. Some of the things that intrigued me have been women are still looking for the man who has propriety, who shows these manners, opens the
Yes.
door, pulls the chair out. Is that still important?
You know what? I think so, and it's interesting though. I've talked to some people from the younger generation, and some of them are like, well, every person has the same amount of value, and it's not about having a different amount of value. It's a matter of just kind of old-fashioned chivalry and showing manners. It's just a matter of manners, and do you want to be the man versus the woman? And again, it's the masculine energy versus the feminine energy. The masculine man wants to give to the woman. He wants to protect her. He wants to cherish her because she is showing respect to him. She respects him for what he's providing for her, and it's a beautiful dance when it works. And both people feel wonderful because what she does, she respects him, and then she cherishes her. And there was a study done at Harvard. About 10,000 people were interviewed across many cultures, and what they found was that 2/3 of men mate and marry for sexual and sensual security when they come home at night, and 1/3 of men mate and marry for financial security and social status. 2/3 of women mate and marry for financial security and social status, and 1/3 of women mate and marry for sexual and sensual security. So what this means is that men feel loved when they are respected, and women feel loved when they are cherished majority of the time. So when men are respected, then women get cherished. And when women are cherished, they feel respected. And when men are respected, they feel loved. So if this circle happens, when this cycle happens, then everybody gets what they want, ultimately.
Interesting. So if you have a client who says, look, I'm dating this guy, I really like the guy, but he shuts the door on me when I'm walking into a room. He doesn't look at me, he's texting on the phone when we're having dinner. What would you recommend? Talking to the gentleman at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell her to, hey, I would give her a little script. I'd say, what you would say is to say, hey, you have every right to not do these things. However, I don't feel valued. I don't feel cherished. What do you think about holding the door for me when we're walking together, or whatever it is, the things that he's not doing? And then if he says, oh, what, I don't believe in that, I don't believe in all that chivalry crap, then she would say, okay, you have every right to not want to do these things for me. However, it doesn't feel good, and then have her give him a price tag or, some cost that for him not doing those things. I'm not going to want to continue. I'm not going to want to continue to date someone who doesn't value these things. It doesn't feel good, and I don't feel loved or taken care of, and that's really important to me in this relationship. What do you think about that? Are you willing to do these things or whatever? And then see what he says. And if he's not willing to do it, is she willing to give up the relationship? Is he 51% valuable, or is he someone to keep, or is he someone to reject?
It's great insight. Dr. Cohen, where do we get a hold of you?
Great. My website is drsharoncohen.com. You can call me at 949-682-9304. And I'm also on Facebook, just Dr. Sharon.
Well, if you want help and guidance with dating, you know who to call, Dr. Sharon Cohen. Thank you so much for being on The Circle. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. That was a great show. DrSharonCohen.com once again. Remember, our motto is simple. Wherever there's psychology involved, we are there. See you next time, everyone.